the SunGuard project manager. Name is Eric. So the five of you, we're going to go upstairs. Rhonda's going to show us the way upstairs. The rest of you at that point, I should be at the point you have one, I think just one assessment today, and it's on holds and messages. So we're going to go over those this morning, and then between 11 and 11:30 you'll be doing the assessment for the holds. There is not one for our afternoon session, which is good. So then the afternoon session will be on self-service and seeing some of that stuff. So we'll hopefully can get logged in and be able to get into a student's record and training and see, use Mr. Brown and see what they will be seeing on self-service, which is the website. So we'll hopefully be able to get logged into that. So I think that's what the agenda is for the day. It's just going to be a little flexible. I'm sorry about the 11th, but that's when Eric was available. So that's what we need to go and do that call real quick. And then the rest of you, once you do your assessment between 11 and 11:30 kind of thing, then you're free to go to lunch, and you'll be back at 12:45, no later, if we get out at 11:15 or so. Okay? Does that sound fair? Mm-hmm. Okay, everybody make sure you sign in. Especially this afternoon, come back and sign in, because there's no assessment on the afternoon one. So that'll be their only proof that you were here. Okay, so what we're going over today are holds, and I'm going to hit both student holds and financial aid holds, just so that you'll be able to see what some of those are about. So if you have any, students that come up to your counter or front line and that kind of thing. Because they both do different things. Your student holds are the ones that will hold up registration, will stop graduation, will stop their transcripts going out, those type of things. Financial aid holds will prevent a student from being packaged, and it will prevent for the money to be dispersed to accounts receivable. So it's one of the 87 reject would be a financial aid hold. Student holds do not stop financial aid, and financial aid does not stop student. So they don't stop each other. So it will stop, graduation, and they will put, like if a student owes money to the school, they'll put an AR hold on them, but it won't stop the student from graduating or getting a transcript. Or they have to designate if they wanted to do that. Okay? So let's see how some of this is set up. So we're going to start with the financial aid holds, and those are in common functions. And I'm going to go to the control menu or the common functions form. I think it's in there.
You went to which one?
Okay, I did it too fast. I'm sorry. I came down to where it, let me start it over again. I went to financial aid common functions.
Okay.
Okay, it's about in the middle. Put your blue, make it blue. Put your cursor on the folder, fast double click. And I'm going to come all the way down to the financial aid common functions control. Okay, everybody with me? So again, I usually make it blue, put my cursor on the folder, which means there's more forms within that folder. Okay, so then I'm going to come down to RTVHOLD, and this is where the financial aid holds are created. Okay. So it's RTV as in Victor, HOLD. All right.
I don't see it.
Just keep going down.
Oh, there it is. Okay.
Just keep scrolling down. Now this is where you create the holds. So I'm assuming this is where the core team has already discussed it, and they'll be creating the holds. The only one that I'm seeing there is transfer monitoring. So your transfer monitoring process, when set up, will automatically post that transfer monitoring hold on the student's record for, I think it's, what, 7 days? It's supposed to be 7 days for the CPS to respond back if the student is attending another school. Okay, so the transfer monitoring is another way of checking to see if the student is attending 2 schools at once. And that would be something that you guys definitely are going to have to put in place to monitor that a student doesn't, you know, it'll notify you if indeed they are going to 2 places, and will stop. And again, it'll stop whatever we check there. So it'll prevent packaging, which is the awarding of money, prevent disbursement, which is the posting to AR. It'll prevent a memo, so it will, if we check it, it won't produce a memo, so we don't want to check that one. Then it asks us what kind of aid do we want to stop. We want to stop everything, including scholarships or VA benefit, you know, whatever comes through us, or do we want to just stop financial aid, state or institutional aid? So we have our choices, and you know, you could have whatever you need done there. And then of course our info access is what? That's self-service. So they really should rename it, in my opinion, to self-service. And then the message number was that old thing I talked to you about, was the voice response, where it's, you know, it's scripted in there that punch this button if you want to hear this, or punch that button if you want to do this. And if a student had a hold, we'd put a number there in the script calls for, and then it would say that you have a transfer monitoring hold. You know, and then it will be, you will not be able to be packaged or dispersed without clearing this. But you didn't buy that, so we don't have to worry about that. Other typical holds I've seen on here are counselor holds. If you want to talk to the student. I've seen things like promissory note holds, if the student completed it, or they'll do it in tracking. It just sort of depends which way they want to do it. You know, so if it's something that they have contacted the student so many times and they still haven't signed a promissory note, but you guys don't have loans, so we don't have to worry about that. Okay. So scholarships, maybe it would be that the student hasn't written a thank you note to the donor, if you make them do that. TOPS grant, maybe it's something that their GPA has not been reported yet from a professor. Okay, and you don't know if they're going to get it. So it could be all sorts of different things if you want to create them. You know, and this evidently will be something, it is a validation table with the V in the 3rd position. So it will be what everybody, you know, in the system will have to agree upon. Thus, it's the core team. Okay, then on the individual campuses, you'll have to discuss with the core team how, if one campus needs it and the others don't, if that's going to be something that you all will put in there or not. It just sort of depends. We did find out last night, when, you know, when some of us stayed, you are being what we call VPD'd, your databases. And that is a virtual private database. It's an Oracle functionality that allows us to have multiple databases assigned to the same system. And it's all technical garbage. I don't know what it, you know, there's a whole bunch behind it. So all of these validation tables, the V tables, are shared tables amongst each of the VPD campuses. Your rules table with an R in the 3rd position will be campus, just for your
Specific.
campus. Yeah, that's the word, specific. Okay, so it just sort of depends on what the which form you're looking at as to what its functionality is. And there's a number, we do have a number of VPD schools ahead of you that have been live for a long time. The Colorado Community College system is VPD'd also, so they're all, there's 15 community colleges in that system. So there'll be a good networking for you guys. And if, you know, I know the gal who's in charge there, so, you know, I can get her in contact with you folks. And then my horrible task of having to do Hawaii, you know, they were also VPD'd. They were the 3 universities and 9 community colleges in that system. So they were also VPD'd. And Alaska was also VPD'd. So I know of 3 schools definitely that have gone before you, and they have made it, you know, not too much suffering. So hopefully they'll, you know, and I have references in all 3 places. And maybe you just may have to do a trip to Hawaii.
I think
you know,
we should.
yeah,
It needs to be
you
a
know,
field trip.
yeah, you know, you need to go, you know, maybe you're gonna have to go check out, you know, how they do things, you know, so what can I say? Anything I can do to help. All right, so once we put the holds on here, this just creates them. So now we have to assign it to our student. So that is going to be done on ROA hold. Okay? And if you want to know where it is in the menus, I'm going to close up the control menu, and this is going to be on the student themselves. So then I'm going to go to the applicant common functions, because it has an O in the second position, so I know it's housed in, you know, its home is in the common functions area. So if I go to applicant common functions, on here I'm going to find my ROA HOLD. And that's where you actually place a hold on the student.
Yeah, I didn't find it in the drop down.
Mine isn't set up like yours, or yours isn't like mine. Well, then just go to the go-to box and type in ROA HOLD. Yeah, it was in common functions. I stayed in common functions. I just closed the control menu. Okay, and then I opened up the one above it, which was the applicant. Okay, so I was in financially common functions to create it, and then I closed it, and then I went right above it to the applicant common function.
We don't have the whatever right there.
Okay, everybody found it? Okay, so this is where it's going to show you if the student has a hold, or you can place a hold. So what I would be doing again is the drop down arrow, and since we only have transfer monitoring in there, I put it, you know, I brought it in. I can put it against a fund, so I can say, okay, this is just because they can't get their TOPS grant. They can have their Pell, but I only want them not to get their TOPS grant. So I can make it fund specific by putting the fund code there. I have a place here to put the reason why am I putting on the hold, and I'm going to say the student may be attending. If I could spell, I would go a lot further. Delgado Community College. Okay. Then in the age year or the period, I could put one or the other, and I don't have to put both. So if I wanted it for the entire age year of 11-12, I would put the age year. And you notice that I have a hold to and from, so I can make this date specific. Now if I didn't want it to be for the whole year, I would leave this blank, and then I could put it on for a particular age period, that I'm only going to hold it for the fall aid period. So I can put in one or the other, and I don't think it lets you put in both. Let's try, see if it'll save. No, see, it'll give you a message that, you know, it's either one. Okay? So it's one or the other. Now it's going to tell me I don't know what I'm doing. Well, that's fair. Okay. So then once I save it, my user ID will come in here. And if I chose, I could lock it. You know, that I don't want anyone to release it. Now, when I lock it, though, anybody else can come in here and release my hold. So it will just stop them for a minute maybe and say, okay, she locked it, why? And hopefully then they would go to, or you made a comment on RHACOMM, RHACOMM, and that would then be where they would go to see, you know, why did you place this hold on? If there was nothing in the reason, or they wanted further information about why it's being held.
So we have to manually change the hold to date?
You don't have to. It'll just, yeah, I mean, it's going to go until 2099.
Wow.
So if you only wanted to hold for, you know, a short period of time,
Then you change it.
then you should change it.
Molly, on this one, it saved as your username first, and then it repeated it, and you saved it as my username. I mean, it's because I was copying what you were doing?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
I mean, I have two separate ones.
That's fine. Okay.
Yeah. Like in the second part, you know, the second part?
Yeah.
It's the one I saved.
That's what you said.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Okay.
No problem.
So if FA training 28 locks it, anybody comes in from what module? Any modules, they can unlock it?
Anybody with access to the form, so I wouldn't,
And who owns this phone?
this is an R form, so this
Oh, it
is,
is an R.
so it's a
So-
financial aid one.
What you're saying is that a student could come to my campus and I put a hold on that student and then go to Chrissy's campus, she could see the hold and she could unlock it.
Not on the, if they VPD'd it, no.
No, because it's specific to my
To
campus.
your campus.
But if I had another financial aid officer or my clerk could go in and.
Correct. Try it. Somebody,
So
I mean,
you
mine was
train the
saved.
staff not to unlock anything that's not
That's-
their user ID, that's
Correct.
in-house.
Yeah.
If
Or
it's locked, you check
if
with
it's
that
locked,
person
you
to-
have to check it further, or go to that person.
Yeah.
I mean, that would be your office procedure.
But between the schools, the campuses that are VPI, they should be able to see my hold. So if I put my hold on there and say the student comes in and we have an issue, well, we put a hold on to prevent, to do transfer monitoring. And say that student decided at the 12th hour to go to Chrissy's campus, and I have this transfer monitoring hold on. She may not be able to do anything, but would she be at least be able to see it by that student?
Now she has a login to your campus.
Lock you,
Oh,
because I can see
ooh.
both of them now.
I have
If
both
they
of them.
truly
Yeah,
VPD'd
lock,
you,
click lock
you
on
know,
there.
then
So
no.
you can't, ooh.
Yeah.
Really lock it.
Right, because you
Yeah,
see,
unlock mine.
right, in our
Let me roll
student
back.
system
And I'm gonna
database,
see if I
Well,
can
that's
unlock
different.
them.
that's exactly different from this, yes.
Exactly.
I don't know if I like that,
Well, we
because
have to find out
It
if
doesn't show
ROA
it. Let me
hold
get
has
all the
been
way back.
VPD'd.
I can write that down in the issue.
Yeah. And,
Actually, I'm trying to unlock what Sherilyn did,
See?
so I'm taking myself all the way out and what is it, ROA hold?
Because that would be ideal to use campus to campus. Because we have a lot of people that go from one campus to another.
Correct.
Right.
All right, let me check something and see if this table is VPD'd. And the only way that I know how to check if a table is a user
Did you save it?
Oh, let me see.
is I can come over here to roll
All right.
rule.
Okay,
Okay.
okay, it's locked.
I show the lock. Okay.
Show the lock,
Molly, you're
okay.
using VPD, does that
It did
say
let
as
me
that?
unlock Sherilyn,
Yes.
just to let you know,
Okay,
but
that's the jargon we've been,
What's it?
Yeah,
What do you,
But didn't we
Say
met?
it?
VPD is the same as being met.
Did not go
correct.
through.
But
That's what
no,
Aaron told
we
me
met
yesterday.
By college, right? We
I
didn't
know
met.
that term.
what's her
yeah.
We
name?
didn't met by individual campus.
1500.
We have separate, I'm sorry, Kelly, we
Molly
have separate.
showed up.
Right, I said we met, we didn't met by
And
each campus
Sherilyn showed up, so she
processing. We didn't met by
It's
campus.
the same thing as Molly.
met by
It showed up
college.
under,
See, and that's, we need need to find
Oh,
exactly,
yeah.
well, if
When I say-
VPD,
I'm gonna put on the issues list now versus
They
BPD.
did let me unlock it, let me see if I can see.
we're by college. which I
VPD
think-
and
I think
MEP.
we mapped by college.
That's
I
what
think-
Eric told me last night.
Roll
was
back,
that's,
Cheryl.
that's what you're
Roll back
calling
and
the
then open it
VPD.
again, see if it shows him on
Exactly.
that.
But when
By
we initially, when we had an early meeting.
Okay, I can't. Shh.
When we had an earlier core meeting, we sat down and we decided what we were gonna share and what we were going to map. And map, to my understanding, ladies, correct me if I'm wrong, was by college. So
Yes.
if we truly
Yeah.
met by
That's why I
college,
was
we should be
listening.
able to share between campuses.
Well, what I'm seeing is the fourth thing down is a VPD I
Maybe I
code
misunderstood.
on this table behind Rojo.
My understanding is the only thing that was shared was the validation table.
Right.
Right,
Everything else was supposed to be mapped or.
And it could very well,
and it is mapped. But only, then again, only campus by campus can see it. It will have a code in there, because this is the table, the RORHOLD is the table behind Rojo.
You saying by campus or by college?
It's gonna be by however,
Yeah.
I
See,
don't,
that's
that
what-
I don't know.
Campus and college means something different to the technical people.
Okay,
Right.
I don't know
and I
which
have
one
that,
you're
I have that on
mapping
the
it to.
issues
And
list.
I think it's college.
Okay,
That's what I'm thinking.
that's a question to Eric at 11.
I have it, MP, I had MEP versus VPD,
Okay,
so we can ask.
I think it's exact same
I think so.
process, they're just calling it different, but again, it's which way have they done it, campus or college? That's what I don't know yet. Rhonda, do you have a question?
I just wanted to make sure that we all use the right terms, because I'm getting kind of confused.
Yeah,
We need to make sure that the college
Mhm.
it uses all the, is it 7 campuses?
Yeah, for us,
It's
yeah.
7 college, what, 7 campuses?
There's 7 colleges,
It's 7 technical
So the
colleges.
campus,
7 technical colleges, and out, right, statewide, and out of each technical college has branch campuses. Our college, Acadiana Technical College, has 7. Melanie's, which is South Central, has
We have
3.
3 main, 5 total, but 3 main.
okay, so if we can all just be on the same page with.
Yeah.
Well, we've been trying to do that for a
Make sure
year, and I
it's
don't think
college.
everybody's gotten it, I'm
I'm
gonna be
getting
honest
kind
with
of
us.
lost.
Yeah,
But now Shonda is, even though she has branch campus, it all is operating under one college. So her branch, she have 2 branch campuses,
You never use that terminology.
but y'all never use that terminology.
It's just SLCC.
It's just
They're
SLCC.
falling under one OPEID, one health school code, one everything.
okay,
And that's the difference there.
okay.
these smart people.
Okay, so the MEP, give me the letters again.
Multi-entity
Entity
processing.
processing.
And that, we've never heard VPD.
MIP.
Yeah.
MIP.
MEP, MEP.
Entity.
Multi-entity processing.
And I did hear VPDI code thrown about, but that was when we were doing our parameter set.
Okay, what it is, VPD is SunGuard.
Okay,
VPD is the SunGuard terminology,
okay.
okay? So, and that's what you're also gonna hear in Colorado, Hawaii, and Alaska, because they call it VPD. So now, and even in the programming, you can say it's VPD.
Okay, so you're saying, I'm looking at VPDI, is that the same?
That's VPDI, so that's the institution. So it's the institution code.
Gotcha. So
That's-
the VPD
right.
and VPDI, you're talking about are one and the same?
Yes,
Okay, all right.
An institution equals college, probably.
institutions, I'm assuming is gonna be the college.
Yeah, that's college.
Okay? So this particular table then is being met.
Met.
I'm not gonna do that right. Okay, copied.
You can say VPD, I know, I can associate now.
Okay. This is what I'm used to. Okay, and it looks like it's a 6-digit code that they're using, up to 6.
Up to 6, right?
Okay, so this table then, the way I understand the process, this table then would only be seen by whomever they've assigned this code to. You know, so if this code is, you know, one campus or college, I don't know if it's gonna be branches.
I distinctly remember a conversation with Dr. Strickland at one of our first sessions, and Kelly, it may have been you who asked, when they go into the system, will they see all of the students, like at one of my
And what
branches?
did they say?
And her response was yes. And we were like, well, how are they gonna know? Are they just gonna have to go through the list to try to figure out their students? And at that time, it was like, yeah.
No, because
So,
it's done by campus,
No, it's done by college.
by college. You think so?
I think it's done by
I'm
college.
glad you remember all this stuff, Melanie, because I don't remember even.
We'll have to wait and
It's done
see.
by college. I don't remember that.
Okay.
At all. I'm glad y'all did.
I just don't, I'm pretty sure it's done by college. I just don't know how, when we entered those, on one of those forms, the campus default, you know, you had your institutional default versus your, I don't know how that's gonna tie in.
And that's what we need to figure out
That's what
today.
we need to figure out. But even when we entered some of those parameters, I had to enter SCLTC. I didn't enter SCLTC Larouche.
Right.
Or SCLTC River. I entered SCLTC. That's why I'm pretty sure.
And you're right, and I don't remember the question, but I think I know you're right. But that's
We
what we
just
need
need to figure
to,
out how the
Which is which?
two-digit campus
code fit ties in.
Yes.
Okay. Eric might be able to answer us. If not, then we'll,
Figure it out.
we'll find who's gonna give us the right answer. Okay. All right, so when we place a hold on the student then, going back, I'm gonna go to Roarman now. Okay, and then on Roarman, if you go to status, click on the icon status. Okay, again, down in this area on the ROA STAT, we see an F. Okay, so that means financial aid has a hold on this student. To see what the hold is, you'd have to go to ROA HOLD. So if it has an F, you want to go to row hold and see what the hold is. If it was an S only again, then it's going to be a student hold only. And then if it has a B as in boy, it's going to be on both. So that would mean the student has one on row hold and then the student, I think it's so hold. Okay, so let's go look at the student hold now.
But you know that student is probably is going to make decent about it.
I'm sorry, Mom, what, under hold, it has an F, I'm sorry, what was that?
Financial aid hold.
Why not an R?
I don't know.
He's leaving.
Makes sense, doesn't it? I was thinking the same thing.
He's leaving
So
definitely.
if that's how that's.
I mean, he's
Get us
never
accustomed
told
to
us
it.
definite.
I ain't a programmer.
Yeah, probably.
I don't know, it's just what they do.
But if accounts receivable put a hold, would we be able to see it from here as well?
No,
No.
but it's done on the student, so it'd be an S.
Oh, okay, I gotcha.
So
Okay?
it would show either the,
S,
I was
F, or
looking
B.
in the book, it would show either an F, a S, or a B for both, right?
Correct.
So we would see
Or
that,
blank
and
for
then
none.
we'd be able to go to the appropriate place to see what the hold is.
Correct.
Okay.
And who placed it?
Got it.
Okay.
Okay, I'm done. All right. On STV, as in Victor, HLBD, this is where the student team will be creating their holds. Okay, so they'll come up with a 2-letter code, the description of the hold, because both of these descriptions show up on self-service. So again, back on our RTV HOLD, when we create those, we want to make them user-friendly, student user-friendly, because they're going to be able to see these holds and the description on self-service. All right? So then on the student side of the house, they have the capability of stopping a student's registration, their enrollment verification, the generation of a transcript. They can stop their graduation. They can stop their grades.
Must be semester grade.
AR, accounts receivable. They can stop their application process. And compliance can be stopped. I don't know what compliance
Yeah.
is. We'd have to ask the student person. Or look at the handbook. I don't know what that means. Okay, and then again, they have the voice response message number, if you had bought that. So, my suggestion always is that the financial aid offices are gonna want to have a financial aid capability here, that if the student is indeed, we wanna stop something here, like getting a refund from AR, or something like that, or they're in some kind of situation that we want to stop their registration. AR billings, that kind of thing, it will be handled by accounts receivable. So you won't be dealing with those. But if you have a Pell Grant overpayment, then you want to make sure that AR has placed a hold so that the student has to pay that back before you allow them to register or get a transcript. So we do need to be aware of what the student system is doing on this, because it will affect your COD compliance and your reconciliation for your Pell Grants.
So this is something that we may have query access to, but I don't see it in like what you call our stolen form.
Our stolen thing.
No, we don't have any stolen forms, so yeah.
So we need to make sure we have query access.
Well, this again is the setup, so you probably would maybe want the access on definitely on the production, not production, the student form. This is where they set up what their holds are gonna be.
Yes, okay.
Okay?
I'm sorry, yeah. On the
Yes.
actual.
You probably want query on this, but somebody, the next form where they place the hold, don't write it down yet because I don't remember the letters. Oh, I'm so good.
Yes, you are.
And it looks just like ours. This is SOHOLD, SOAHOLD. And this is where they will be placing the holds. So you definitely would want access to this, and maybe directors might want to have update capability where they can actually place a hold, the financial aid hold, and not have to call the student counterpart to put it on there for you. So student-wise, this would be one that you would want to do. And you do the exact same thing, but notice they don't have age period. So again, I would have that I want to put a financial aid hold on. Okay, and they have a reason. Student owes repayment. Okay, and then they have an amount. I like that
I
better.
do too.
So if I want to say they have to pay back $1,500 kind of thing, and then I have my to from, and then they have an origination code. And this is where who's placing the hold, not necessarily, person. And then when I save it, my user ID will come up here.
Molly, let me make sure I'm clear on something. If I put a financial aid hold through ROA, the student team will be able to see it without,
Not unless you give them security access to view.
and vice versa.
Vice versa.
So what will happen is, if we pull up, the student comes in.
Just one second, that's the same on any forms.
I'm so sorry, I thought you were done.
That's okay.
If a student came in and said, okay, there's something going on, I don't have my money, and I pull him up, and I say, okay, you have the student hold. At that point, if we didn't have access, we'd have to bring them to.
But they don't stop disbursement. Their holds will not stop disbursement.
Right, okay, it won't stop disbursement, but say if there's an accounts receivable hold on there, it would stop payment, right?
It will stop they'll
So
stop
it's
that.
so if a student came to me and said, okay, I don't have my refund on my card, and it's a hold on the student side because they have an overpayment, if we're not able to see it, we can just send them to the student side and But we could tell it was a student hold, is what I'm saying.
That would
And
all-
say,
yeah.
Okay, you need to go here to see what that
Exactly.
hold is.
Exactly.
So we just have
Rostat
to
will
make
tell you
sure
that,
our financial aid officers and student affairs officers are communicating.
And we do anyway.
And if
Yeah,
somebody
I mean,
confirms for both,
Yeah.
makes it easy. I tell you, guess what?
yeah.
So a lot of times you just walk in.
That was like-
Or it's in the fair.
Right.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. So,
You learned a lot today.
we just have to play it by ear and see what works.
Yeah, I mean, it's you know, it's a hit or miss thing, you know, at the beginning. Now, somewhere, I'm certain Sandra has given somebody the security matrix. There's a matrix that financial aid consultants have put together. And we, you know, in there, we make suggestions what student and AR forms you need access to. And if that is followed, then you'll be,
That's that one with all the yellow highlights.
I know, personally, I saw it and it was very difficult for me to read, for lack of a better word. Like, I needed it to be kind of elementary down, but I just kind of went with what everybody else did because I was like, I don't understand.
That was that big old conference call, we had that giant spreadsheet, wasn't it?
yeah. Well, and again,
I just kind of, I figured out.
to hit you with that at the very beginning is sort of, you know, scary because you guys don't even know what the forms did.
Right,
You know, so I normally, like New Orleans, I told them that's our May visit when I go to their campus. We're doing security because their security's wide open still. Because I made them do production pretty much wide open. You know, I protected the 5, 6 forms, the global ones. I wouldn't let people do some of the others, but we're going to tighten it come May.
Right.
So,
But I
but
think
they've been
even-
on it a year now.
Yeah, but I think in this case, as long as financial aid people are able to see that it's a student hold, we just send them to the appropriate person and communicate with that person and say, hey, what's going on? Hey,
Yeah.
student, this is what you need to do. And I don't think this is, I think this is,
It is that same person.
it is the same person anyway, right? So I
Yeah.
don't think it's that big of a deal.
Let me put on my student
Okay,
affairs.
this happened.
Yeah, well, then you get into things like, you know, yes, maybe the small forms they'll give you, but, you know, you also gotta pick which fight you wanna battle.
Right.
Because you definitely are gonna need to have access to the, you know, the 3 top student forms, the DOMS, Sagastian, and,
Wait, say those again?
SADOMS, which is the emissions, SAAA-DMS,
Three
3 A's, DEMS.
DMS.
You'll want to query to that.
Okay.
And then the Sagastian, which is SGAS-TDN. That's the general student, the continuing student form.
Okay.
And then the, I said 3, probably TSAAREB. AAREB.
D as in Victor?
Yes,
R-E,
REB is in Victor.
That's a sheet.
That's an
A-A-R-E-B.
accounts receivable form. So those 3 you definitely are gonna, you know, want. Now, if they don't give you TSAAREB, we have a stolen one, which is just as good, the RSIAREB. So if they won't give it to you, then we still have a stolen one. But the T form does a little better querying.
DM or DMS?
So, okay, any questions about holds? Okay, you do have an assessment on it. We'll give it to you at 11 when we have to leave for the meeting. You'll be able to do the assessment. When finished, you can go to lunch, and you'll be back at 12:45. So you make it a long lunch. Depends on your it takes you on the assessment. Okay, and holds, I don't think we have a self-service, and we don't, we do have one question, I think, in this holds on messages, and that's what we're gonna go into next. So, any questions about the holds? Have we beaten it to death? Okay. All right. Messages. All right. Banner has put in place about, oh God, I don't know how many ways to communicate to the student over self-service. Okay, we have your document tracking, we have on RTV TREQ, which is a setup form. It's a V as in Victor, third position. So let me go through these, and I'm going to stay on Roarman and see, well, can't stay on Roarman. Okay, I'm going to go to RT, V as in Victor, TREQ. RT, V as in Victor, TREQ. This is a setup form, and when you are on your requirement tracking, this is a roster of all your documents. Okay, so this will be, I'm sure it's going to be shared.
It is.
It is.
Okay, and so this one will have your school's documents on it and other school documents on it, is what we're saying. But there's also instructions, and the instructions show up on the web. So if you put the wrong document in, let's say you have multiple documents for, you know, for this campus and that campus, and you put the wrong document on, then they could be getting the wrong instructions for another campus. So when you go through and you start putting your documents on, you know, that you need, you have to be careful that you're picking the right one with the proper instructions. So if they've written these instructions here, that means, you know, those might be campus specific. So that would be something that you're gonna wanna figure out. Now these instructions, when we look at self-service later today, they show up on the requirement tracking screen that lists all the documents the student has to submit. And it's a little, it looks like what we see on our menus, is that looks like a little form, and there's a little icon that looks like a piece of paper. And when the student brings their cursor over to it, it says special instructions. And if they double click on it, then they open it up, and these instructions that are listed here show up. Okay, but they don't see them right off. They have to hover over to this little thing, that icon that looks like a piece of paper, and then when they double click on it, then these instructions will open up in a hot box.
And that's in self-service.
That's in self-service. This can only be seen in self-service, these instructions. These are for self-service. They're not pulled in any other place. The long description there for the core team is what the student is going to see on self-service as to, and that's where you're telling the student what document you want them to submit. You need to make the long description user student friendly. Okay? So say document admissions to eligible academic program.
That doesn't tell me anything.
Exactly. So that might be something as the helping group now, the users, if you see these long descriptions here that don't make sense, or you need to, you know, and what you're doing, ladies, is giving polite, constructive
Feedback, not criticism.
input. Not exactly. Because they've been working on this for a whole year, and if you want to see a core team member cry, you tell them they did a lousy job, or you don't like what they did there. So you do it very politely. You know, somebody needs to maybe put it in a nice flowery email
With cookies.
Exactly, saying, I know you spent a whole lot of time on this, because they, you know, they have ownership now. They own this. Banner is theirs, and you come walking in as the one that joins the party late. You know, if you want to see a core team or not, you know, cry, be mean to them. You know.
Yeah, I think some of them were already there though. I think we added, but I think the basic ones were already there, because I don't remember doing some of these.
Yeah.
I would like to say this though, we can't, as core team members, even change these because it's a validation table. If I'm not mistaken, we have to go through Mary DeVille to get these changed. correct, ladies? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's where you used it. Could I make a suggestion?
You could just tell me.
Can you?
Yeah.
I'm not bad at it, but I'm just gonna tell you.
Yeah, you need to go through
My
the,
feeling about it.
yeah. I'm assuming that Mary gets the core team's input. Okay,
We
but,
did a spreadsheet. Remember?
Yeah.
The Excel spreadsheet, and we put in what we needed our tracking hour. Because there's some that are specific to campuses. Like Sewell's campus code is RA. So
Okay.
our specific ones would be under the RA.
okay,
Maybe that's it.
yeah, so
There
that
was
could be it.
something already.
Okay.
Yeah, there
in there,
were
though.
some generic that we all
Yeah, because this is all
could
SLCC.
use.
Okay. All right, here's a navigation tip. I don't know if the core team even knows this. Now you see how I can take my cursor and just hover? Okay, but I'm not a very fast reader, and if I move my cursor too fast, it'll go away. If you put your cursor in that field and you go up to edit, edit,
Cool.
I love that.
it opens up a little hot box that won't go away until you say cancel, and you'll be able to read the whole comment.
I like that.
Now, any scroll in the system is like this. Did you know it was also, let me show another form. I'm going to be sidetracked for a second. Back in need analysis, so everybody just stay where you're at. You don't, well, unless you want to follow me. In your miscellaneous results inquiry form, where it has your comment codes over here, and they're in a long string of a scroll. And in order to see the whole thing, you either have to hover and get the hover right.
Yeah, and if you're impatient, you just do it.
Exactly, or you scroll all the way to the right. Well, edit,
Edit.
edit,
And it pulls it up.
pulls it right up for you.
Really nice.
Okay, so that's a relieve your frustration tip. All right. All right, so let me go back to RTVTREQ using the arrows on my keyboard. All right, so again, this instruction will go out there. We also have a URL where they could have put here the site that a student can go out and get a form, complete it, and submit it. So I'm sure that they've done some of that too. Okay. But again, this is where we need the rest of you now to be looking at these and giving polite input as to what may still need, or if something is not reading correctly. One of my pet peeves always is uppercase, lowercase. You know, being properly grammatically correct. How it's used. You know, like a form is usually always first character is capitalized. So that's just one of my little pet peeves. And normally, you know, making sure that grammatically the student understands what you're asking. And these will get whistled and belled and looked at and adjusted. So this is one instruction that will show up on the web. We also had back on RFR Management, and if we put a fund in, you have a message about the fund that can be put on the web. So if the student gets the top opportunity grant, you create a message, and we have to create the message on RTVMESG, and we'll look at that in a minute, but then you can link it or connect it to the fund. And then when the student is awarded the fund on self-service, it makes it show up. We'll have to figure out how it does it, but it does. I don't know if it's a hover or if it's a whatever. But on this particular one would be something like, this is a state fund. Congratulations on receiving it, or you must maintain a certain GPA, or this is a message to the student just about the fund.
So that's
Okay? And this is only going to show up when they have been awarded the fund. Okay, that's the key. They have to have been awarded the fund. So it won't show up if they haven't been awarded the fund. All right, so like Pell Grant, you can say this is a federal grant. You know, I mean, you don't have to overkill it, but you know, any kind of messages you want to put on. Like work study, if you had work study, we tell the student that they have to go get a job in the placement office. So we actually give them, you know, fund-specific information. All right?
And what was the form for the message itself?
We're going to go to it right now. All right? Where we create these messages is RTV as in Victor, MESG. And again, I'm assuming this is not copy, MIFT, BPD'd, okay, because it is a validation table. So again, you're going to see messages here that can be used for many different campuses. So if you're picking one, you know, for your school, then you're going to want to make sure that you get the proper message. Now, I also suggest you create one here, and this is a Molly suggestion, okay, that just says PERS, that this is a personal message, and that you want this to go out on the web. You don't put anything here, because we have a form called ROA message that is student specific.
Oh, cool.
So my code then would be my personal message to the student. And then I could write a personal message to that student.
Like leave me
And
alone.
give up, put in the expiration date.
Wait, Neil, what is this form again?
This is a personal message to Brian Brown only. But I put in personal because I want to, you know, that's just the category. I have to have a category, a message code.
On RTV message.
Right,
So
so
we gotta
you
get
want to
Mary to
create
that.
a PERS on RTV message so that you can create a personal message.
Kelly, you got that on issues?
Wait, hold on. Hold on too fast. What you want on issues now?
I think we need to get Mary to build, because that RTV is a validation form and Mary has to update it for us. We need to get that PERS
Just a cat, I use personal, it could be anything. I mean,
so that we are able to utilize the ROA mess.
And any of us can use the ROA mess.
yes, ma'am.
Oh, see, that's really cool, because I'm sending messages to specific students.
Not on ROA.
Not back.
No, she just needs to set it up.
She needs to set
Yeah.
Got it.
that. Got it?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, when I showed this to Notre Dame, this process, they got really crazy with it. They wrote a script that would go out and find out the student's birth date.
Oh, neat.
Then they posted on the student's birth date, happy birthday to each student on the web.
Now, that's really cool.
Now you talk about touchy-feely,
They
fuzzy,
need to
warmy.
focus in on their football team right now. They don't need.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's really cool.
Yeah, yeah.
They're too touchy-feely is the problem.
That is pretty fun. Yeah, so you could do something like that. If you've got somebody in IT that can write a script to do it and then post on here, and they
They need to
inspired
call
it.
Notre Dame to steal the script.
Yeah, they
The whole
inspired it
thing.
every, 2 weeks after the birth date. And then here also, you can be touchy-feely. You could put in this personal message, I see that you were awarded your Pell Grant, I'm sorry it took so long. Thank you for your, touchy-feely is the only way you're gonna keep your students.
That could be a message code to itself.
Exactly. But it can be used, for official stuff, but it also could be used, I tried to contact you 3 times on the telephone. please call. Now, notice that you have to sign it. The ID, the user ID does not show up on the web. So if you say something, I want you to come see me in the office, you're gonna have to put your name within the message. Okay, that's critical. Now, how many characters do you have here? How much of a prolific writer are you? I can check help.
Or help.
2,000. So you have 2,000 letters, spaces, punctuations. It does not do edit check. There's no thesaurus. There's no word spell check. There's no wraparound. So you do have to be careful. And of course, you know, you have to be polite. Okay?
You could also use this, like, let's say someone came in and you were talking to them and you noticed that you needed something from them. You could link to other message codes, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So, oh, I see, Brian, you needed such and such, and it hasn't been put on yet, but I'm going to go ahead and
Yes,
put a reminder
this goes out to our TV message. So I then can tie it to these others, or I can do a personal message.
Good. I like that.
Yeah.
Oh, Merry Christmas. Don't come see us.
Okay? Everybody got it this way?
Mm-hmm.
How are we doing? Okay. So now we've looked at instructions, personal messages. Now we're going to go to, let me find it first before I send you off on a wild tangent. ROR message. RORMESG. Okay. ROR message allows you to use tracking and or budgeting to create messages. So if I want to do tracking, it will go out and it will find my tracking document that I want to do. Okay. So I can bring up a tracking document. Let's say low income statement. And I can create a message that tells the student more, and that message is created on our TV message. I can create more of a message. Now you don't want to do an overkill here, folks, because you've got your instructions, you know, and then if you've got something on the fund and then you put something on, you know, if you put a document and, if you put a message and an instruction, they're going to have to say something different because you don't want the same thing. You're going to have instructions coming from RTV, TREQ. So if you're going to use ROR message, you're going to need to have a different kind of message. And they do show at the same time. So the instruction will show when you have that document on self-service, and this message will show when that document is on self-service. So you're going to have to decide which message is an instruction, and in my mind, an instruction tells them how to do it. A message is something else about that document. Okay, and if you can come up with a distinction of, you know, this is at the time of telling them how to do it, but this is at the time of, you know, what does the document do? I don't know. Or do one or the other. But you really, in my opinion, don't have to do both. But you have the capability in tracking to do both. Okay? Now, budgets is a whole different kind of thing. You don't have anything in budgets other than ROR message. And what budgeting is, again, would be a message about their cost of attendance. For example, we have coded you as a non-resident. If you become a resident, you will need to come see me. kind of thing. Or your budget is based on you living at home with your parents or living on campus. So you can put in a something about their budget groups. Because this is going off their budget group. So if they're in a grade level conflict, you could put a message on what do they have to do if they're in a grade level conflict. I mean, what does that mean? What do I do? You know, I see on the web I'm in a grade level conflict. What in the world do you want me to do about it? If there's no message, they're not going to know. Thus, these little kids are going to pick up the phone. Little, they're not little. These young people are going to pick up the phone, or they're going to be at your desk. So the more you can put out on that web, hopefully they'll start to look at it. They're more savvy than any of us put together, okay, about the web. So hopefully they'll go out and they'll, check it out. But if you have not ready for budgeting showing on the web, I'd pick up the phone and call you and say, what are you talking about?
Our students don't call us, they call legislators.
Yeah, I've been there, done that one. So this one really can lend itself, and again, I don't know if the core team has done anything to expand messages for budgets.
I don't remember.
May not have been looked at.
I remember like RTV MESG was talked about, but then said we probably wouldn't need it because we had so many other things.
Well,
But I really like being able to.
my
it's very
schools
specific.
go crazy with this.
I think
Seeing
it's
it,
cool.
knowing what it can do, knowing the benefits of it. My schools, I have to tone them down.
No, I think this is cool.
Yeah, to make sure that they don't, because I had one school putting both, the message and the instruction was the exact same thing. And that was an overkill. So, once you get going on it, you find the benefits. But I can't see, if you have these bad messages out there, bad groups, you've got to explain them. So this is the best way to do it. Tracking sort of takes care of itself with the instruction. But budgeting, I think you've got to put it here for it to go out. Okay, Sergeant at Arms, what's our time? Do we need a biological break?
Sure.
Okay, she's not listening to me.
Oh, what?
Sergeant at Arms, time for break?
It's 9 after 10.
Okay, why don't we take a 10-minute, 15-minute Coke break?
Be back at 10 tomorrow.
Yeah, 100.
I see your school.
Anna, did you get any stuff from
Is that something you made? I saw it on the line.
Find it and then we'll talk about it.
I don't have any. Where is it?
Okay. On Sagastien, why don't everybody go there? S-G-A-S-T-D-N. S-G-A-S-T-D-N. This is the records form. This is one that you'll look at probably quite often. We have one that we, took from them, stole. And we put an R in front of it, but this one will tell you major, and it tells you their class level. It'll tell you what college they're in, and if you go and follow the tabs, this is their curricula, which is their major and their field of study, what college they're in, their admission status. Again, if you look up here, there's one of one, and you've got arrows. So they could have more than one. So if they change their major or something changes on their student record side, they have to create a new Sagastien. They could have only one admissions app, but they could have multiple suggestion records. So you need to be careful, you know, that you're picking the right one. And then here's their field of study, okay? But one of the things we were talking about up front, a question that came up was graduation. So there's a tab up here that says graduation. So here's graduation status. So when a student, and I don't know if your schools do this, but if they petition to graduate, or if there's somehow they graduate, hopefully the records office will fill out that box. Then we could run reports to find out if the student's going to be attending next year. So if they file a FAFSA and they've already graduated, you could put something on there as to have they changed their majors, what's their new situation, you know, why are they coming back, you know, do they need advice about going to a four-year school, you know, what's their, if you wanted to use something like that. So there is a box up here, but this is only as good if the student system puts the data in there, because it won't go in there automatically. It's going to have to be, you know, manually put in. But this suggestion form is one that you're going to, you know, need to have query access to at least. And you have activities in here, and they'll be creating activity codes if the student is in any clubs or organizations. Why do we need it? Probably not, unless you're trying to give away a donor type scholarship. They only want it to go to a particular, you know, student in a sorority. You know, again, four-year schools use this more than you might at a community college or a technical school. Okay, and again, this is only as good as the folks you do it.
We can create or run a report or a pop cell, you know, to extract those students we want, even if we only have query mode?
Yes. Okay. The key is if you can put your cursor there, and even in a training database, you could get the field. And then if you could come up to help, dynamic help query, that's the field. So if you can get your cursor into that field on any database, then you could get the, what we call the data element. Now we're getting a little techie, so some of you just let it go. So to do a population selection, we have to have, where it says field, we have to have that line of information in order to write the query. Because we have to tell it where to go to get the data we want it to get. So this is what we call a data element that defines the data that's in that will appear in that particular box. That's the best way I can explain it. I'm not techie. So, but again, the easiest way to get that information is put your cursor at it, and 9 times out of 10 you'll pull the right information. Here's also veterans information. So the student it's on the student side. How many financial aid offices do veteran certification? In Banner, it's in the student system.
That's interesting.
So you're going to have access to suggestion update in order to veteran certification, because that's where it is. Or you give it to them to do.
Yeah.
I got away with that at 2 schools, so.
Yeah, maybe if we had the support to encourage that.
Yeah.
But I don't see me popping up there and saying it's.
No.
But, cause see, I wasn't sure how this was gonna work, so I originally set all of mine up in RFR Management. So I should use this.
This is the certification that they are a veteran.
Oh, so yeah. Okay.
Yeah, not the fund code, not that they're getting the money, yeah. This is only going out, picking.
Well, since you've been working with Louisiana, you're probably familiar, maybe, hopefully, with VA1s. Like, does anyone have a script or a thing that you can upload this and send to VA1s?
Or is everybody still doing it manually, like going in and?
New Orleans is doing it manually still.
Some VA1.
But you might want to, the school that we've gotten the most information out is Xavier.
Really?
They seem to have a really good technical staff. So you might want to check with Xavier. Yeah, that she seems to be the one that when we've called her has Louisiana specific stuff under control. So yeah, so we might, that would be my suggestion. I'm trying to think what Tulane is another school on Banner. So Tulane, and then there's
I mean, everybody I
don't
talked
know.
to, nobody
Yeah.
has anything for BA1s, and we're just.
Yeah, but I've been out for a while though. I mean, I did not do Xavier or Tulane. I did Grambling, and I don't know what shape Grambling's in right now. So, you know.
So from here.
Yeah, if I hear of anything, I'll let you know.
So we have had conversations in our system, our LCS system, about who does certify. I understand most of the time it's registrar's office. A lot of times it's been dumped on financial aid.
Right.
So with this form, we have access to complete this form?
Not unless I give it to you.
Okay, then we don't.
No.
Everybody? Okay.
Because what you're verifying is enrollment.
Right.
You're not responsible for enrollment, financial aid. You're responsible for the awarding of funds. Now, the same thing, okay, the other thing that is involved in is the clearinghouse. The SSCR, that's another one that sometimes they dump on financial aid. That is certification of enrollment.
Right, then why financial aid people know?
Exactly, they should be. That also should be, you know, and that, to me, I would say that would be a liability, monetary liability, financial aid is giving the money and certifying the enrollment. That to me is a conflict of interest.
But what if you're both? What if you are student affairs / financial aid officer?
Technically, I don't think they should be both. I think they have to be two separate positions.
We have 1, 2, 3. 3 of us. 3. Oh, both 3 campuses. 3 campuses. 4.
Yes,
If you feel, in your opinion, that at any time, could you please alert me, alert Roger?
oh, sure.
Because,
Sure.
you know, we're used to being inappropriate.
Yeah, this is financial aid.
No. I'm not saying anything with this particular subject matter that I would not say to a vice president or provost. And I have done that, so.
Maybe you should.
Yeah.
If somebody's here.
That is outside the room.
Yeah, you see, and what you also have, and I had a president of the college, you know, sort of say, but that's what they do on the West Coast. And I said, that's financial aid, and we are national. We're not West Coast, East Coast, Louisiana special.
That's so weird. Yeah.
Okay, so he and I got into a little tussle, but, you know, and he's still listening to me. But he hasn't changed it, but he's still listening to me. So, you know, all I can do is give you 40 years of experience and what I've seen. You know, if they can take it, leave it, or throw it away. So.
We do have a director of financial aid position at our central office. in the
We
state of
do?
Louisiana, if you're interested.
Yeah, they told me at New Orleans National Rental that I should just get a Louisiana license. Because I'm going, you know, I'll be going through there to go up to Baton Rouge. I'm not going to use Baton Rouge, you know, car rental place. So I'm there every week. So they actually put a car aside for me. Because I have to have one of the electric seats that I can see over the steering wheel and reach the pedals. Because I have my own car. It's an Oklahoma license. I know my car. So,
And you live in California.
Central, huh? Out of Baton Rouge. You have to give me the website.
Okay.
I have someone, but I'll look at it. My problem is, I've been in my same place for 34 years. They know me at church, they know me at the post office, they know me at the grocery store. So it's hard to change, hard to change. Okay, I get off topic again. Okay, so suggestion is, again, one of the forms that you're gonna have to be able to get to. Because this type of information is not all on, once you put it in here, let me backtrack. Let's like make Mr. Brown a veteran here for a second. And we're gonna put it here in fall. Now you guys watch how I make these windows bigger and I move them. You know, with windows we can do that kind of thing. So I'm going to say that he's in 12 hours. And then I think student has a report that is generated. And this is where I'm a little sketchy. I think they have a report that can be run with this data that can be sent through the FTPing it and sending it to wherever they have to send it. So I'm going to put this kid back, let's say September 12th. Okay. All right, so when I have this put in here, I can go over to our side of the fence, back into my forms and my student system shared data that we've borrowed from them. Veteran Certification Inquiry. So when that is filled out, I'll have my data here. That's all financial aid, should have, kind of thing. But somebody's got to put it on Suggestion in order for it to feed to our form now, which has an R in front of it. Okay? So whatever, but what I don't have is, like that graduation date. So some of the information doesn't come over, but a lot of it does. So that is part of that. Okay, and again, that student system shared data is the little module that has all of these shared forms. Okay, so we're back. I want to stay on Suggestion for just a couple minutes. And okay, so again, the veterans information, then they have a learner comment form that they can put comments about the student in. So when you see learner, that is, a learner and a student is the same thing. It's just like we have different terminologies. So you're going to see learner. We've been trying to, get people to do that. And then, did you see how I did that one? See, when you have that little, like a pencil, if you click on that, it opens up that hot box, and instead of scrolling all to the right and keep writing, I can bring up my little hot box and then I can write my comment. It just makes it a little easier so you don't have to get involved in that scrolling. I hate that scrolling. So here you could make a comment about the student, that the student was admitted for, let's say. So again, it would be a good one for you to have access to. If they put comments on the student, you would know it. Okay, they have another comment form, but I can't remember the name. And here's their academic status. And then they have a miscellaneous, which is just stuff. But it is, some of this might be important if you're doing, scholarships and that kind of stuff. I know you don't have a lot of them, but maybe it'll grow. Now, again, on this particular one, if you leave up here in the auto helpline, if you put the date out, then it's going to pull the most recent. Okay? So you don't always have to put an A period up there. All right. Again, this is a form that you need to get to know, along with all of the financial aid ones. So again, you could put it into My Banner. And you could put it in that My Banner, and then you wouldn't have to remember the letters or go find it. You could just know that that's going to be the general student. And then in the general students, you have all of these additional forms, you know, their advisors and all that. I don't think I've ever really had to deal with much of these other ones. Admissions, let's look at the admissions module, just because we've got a few extra minutes here. So DOMS is the main one. Some schools will do the quick entry. Try and talk your student people out of that, because it doesn't feed over to financial aid as well as the DOMS does. It does feed over, but not as nicely. So DOMS is when they're actually going to, where they're going to actually admit the student. Again, the student could have multiple admissions records. So you would need to be careful about this scroll bar being, if you see it activated where, you know, you have the space there, you know that you're going to have to scroll down and you're going to see another application. The most recent application is the first one that shows. So if the student now comes back in 2 years and, you know, doing another certificate program or something, then you're going to see 2 records in here. And at least the 2 Segaston records. First page again was the admissions data. The second one is the major that they're applying for with the field of study. Okay. Again, here we have fees, application fees, what they've had to pay. And admissions has a checklist. Whereas we have RAC, the requirement tracking screen, they have a checklist. And the checklist is where you're going to see the documents or the things that are still needed. So it'd be like they need approval from the department. They need that the student has to pay the $25 admissions fee, or if they've waived it. So all of these things that the student has to finish up or do before they can be admitted will be listed here. Just think of it as RAC. These are the documents, the things they have to do in order to be admitted, whereas we have RAC, the things they have to complete in order to get money. So those 2 are corresponding. Okay, then they also have sources, interest, and comments. So again, there's another comment form. Sources and interest are things that could be used to put the student into a certain dorm, that kind of thing. Some schools use it, some don't. Very rarely do I see it completed. Okay, and then the last one you may see, these are cohorts, contacts, and attributes. And these are used for, mainly, again, I think I've seen them at the 4-year schools, where they will put the student into certain categories for awarding of funds. We can use those to award like a merit scholarship or something like that. And a lot of places in 4-year schools, the admissions office is the one that admits the students in an honor program, and they actually tell financial aid what the award is. That's very well known. It's, you know, our biggest one was Oklahoma had that. So they had a lot of cohorts and attributes that they used for athletic kids and the kids. What's the big national merit? Those type of winners.
Mm-hmm.
So if they were a national merit winner, they would have a different cohort, and those kids would get buku bucks. You know, $20,000, $30,000 to go to school. But then their tuition was $60,000. So So again, Saddam's, the main thing that we'd be looking at is the first 2 tabs, but there are other data. Again, you need at least query to this, okay? So that you can see if a student has been admitted or whatever. The only thing else in the admissions that I ever really use is the admissions decision. You have the admissions application, which was Saddam's, but this is where they actually will say, what is our decision? Are we going to admit them or not? Okay? And the admit decision data down here is what controls, you know, whether or not they are admitted or not. So when we do population selections, you're going to want to use this field to do a pop select to find students who've been admitted. Saddam's doesn't do it. This is the form that does it. I know, Saddam's is the admissions application.
We're gonna only have query access to this one.
Yeah, but again, it's wide open in training, so it's still the same field. So you can pick it up from training and it, you know, put it in, or use it in your production. Okay? So again, they have, and you're gonna hear them talking about their communication plan. Okay, they have a capability of a pretty sophisticated communication plan. And they send out admissions decision letters, you know, easily to students, whereas we haven't had that in place yet. So this will track a student's decision process, like if it's been forwarded to the department chair for approval that they could be in that major, if they haven't turned their fees in, so they have their checklist and then now their decision. It may be a pending one for a while before, you know, waiting for the dean of the school to approve it. So both of these, the admissions form and this one, are both that you have to look at both to see exactly. And then this decision for this particular term will show up on second page of RoStat. So it does feed over to financial aid, but this is where it's going to come from.
What time do I want to leave?
About 5 more minutes. I'll go upstairs. Okay, how are we doing? All right. The only other thing that I could probably suggest that you're going to need access to is in registration. There are 3 forms in here that give you, if you're trying to find out, is the student registered? You have SFA REGS, which is the main one. Are we out of time?
You have 2 minutes.
Okay. This particular one is the actual one that is completed when the student registers. So this one is term specific. So we've got to definitely say what term we're looking for.
The end of term.
Yeah. So we're going to look at fall 2011. And then when the student registers, it will be down here in what they call a CRN. And this is a course record number. So this particular form will have the registration. I'll have each one of those. There'll be an English, a biology, a history, all those things that they be registered, how many hours they're in. Again, all of this feeds over to ROA ENRL, our enrollment form. So this will also, if a student withdraws on the web. So probably the status will be a different status if they withdrew on their web. Okay? And also on here will be your withdrawal, if the student withdraws. And here in the status, you'll have a WD probably, or something like that, where return to Title IV will kick in. So this will be a return to Title IV form that you're going to need to be able to use. You have 2 other, the SFA REGQ and the SFA REGF. They're both registration forms, they just show it to you in a different way. This is by class. It actually will show you the instructor. It'll show you what time and date that particular class is being held. So if you need to find the student. So it'll show each class for that A period. And then the other one, SF, is the F form. And this one again will show you their registration. And then this is a little better because the message here will tell you they actually registered on the web or they withdrew on the web. It gives you a little nicer message. But again, it gives you each of the courses that they're enrolled in. And you can go backwards, or, you know, if you're looking at what they're going to register but haven't started. So all of that will be here. Okay? Great, so I need to find that for you. I just have to remember the letters. So we'll look at that. Okay, it's a little before 11. We need to go upstairs. The rest of you, I want you to do 3 things. You have a assessment